was the Harrison Butker, whatever, the
Catholic, the football kicker?
Yeah. If I would have heard his speech at graduation, I probably would have given him a standing ovation. I would have been crying and like so excited. Like, that's all, like, I just want to be a mom. Like, I still feel like that's my whole purpose in life.
Right.
But that didn't happen.
Right.
So, like, what am I going to do until that point? I'm not just going to traipse through life and live a mediocre, like, well, I'm just going to sit and wait around.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I'm going to, what am I feeling passionate about? I'm going to pursue that to my highest calling. I realize now there's multiple callings in my life. And like, yeah, but it's still, I can't not have that in my mind.
I totally get it. So just hearing you say, like, you know, I have multiple things going on, multiple passions. You really...
Are we recording, by the way? I'm like,
yeah,
wait. I'm like, should I say that again? I was saving more of it because I was like, oh, if we're going to get into it, I'll save the good stuff for later.
No, you are good. But it's interesting because you have had a lot of different careers now, or you've been successful and made a name for yourself in different categories, and some of them actually don't very easily cross over, right? Sports broadcaster. Were you doing anything on the sports side or just broadcasting?
It was broadcasting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So broadcasting, content creation. I know you're heavy on the branding and strategy side, working with influencers, real estate bureau, coaching. None of it was planned, huh?
None of it was planned, but in hindsight, it all makes sense.
Right.
Like, I even think about going back to even high school and thinking about, like, who do I want to be? Not when I grow up, but like, who do I want to be in school? And I remember I went through a horrible, horrible traumatic experience my freshman year that I would never wish on anybody. And I had a decision after that of like, okay, am I going to be the victim here, or am I going to take the narrative of my story? And I didn't realize that was probably the first time in my life where I had a rebrand. I got to decide, how do I want the world to see me, and where do I want my life to go? And that was a moment where I really took charge and saw something bigger than me. I decided my freshman year, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go to California. I'm going to go to LA. For me, TV was an escape. And so I was like, I'm going to be that one day. And that was when I look back on that moment, and I feel like so much of what I do is actually related to that girl wanting to redesign her life and take control of how people saw her. And so often we want to blame everybody else for our circumstances. And that to me was proof of I can change my life and who I want to be.
Are you comfortable talking about what that traumatic incident was?
To some extent, yes. But in a very short time span, there was a friend of mine who committed suicide. I went through a horrible breakup relationship where the person who was my best friend sexually assaulted me. And within a day of that, found out that he was actually cheating on me the entire time. Within a day of that, found out that so many people in my life actually knew what was happening, and I was the only person who didn't. And when I tried to seek help, when I tried to seek guidance in my friends, they flipped it on me, where it wasn't. Because let's think about, like, the narrative now, even, this is taking like totally different direction perhaps from where you thought it was going, but like so often when we look at women and in relationships and why did she stay or why did she leave and whose fault was it, and did she call it upon herself or was it something that she truly was a victim in those circumstances? I mean, this was now 20 years ago. And at that time, I sought help from a friend, and what ended up happening was all of a sudden the whole world thought I was a slut. Like, I was the one who was easy. I was the one who, well, you hung out with him, so you brought that upon yourself. And so for me, I did what was best in that moment, where it was, okay, I can try to fight against that, or maybe even go to my police or to the parents or to the administration. And again, in that time and space, most often women were not believed. So I could have that target on my back of I was the girl who, and instead I said, fine, I'm going to own it. Whatever you want to call me, fine. And I took that time to figure out, all right, if you're going to have that idea of who I am, I'm going to show you that you're wrong. And so I went from being completely depressed, anxious, all of my grades dropped after being like the pristine, ideal student. Like I was like C's, D's, flunking out of school. And in that moment, I decided I'm gonna do it different. Like, if you don't want to be my friend, that's fine. If you want to call me names, that's fine. But I'm gonna take control of my body and my grades and my choices. And if you want to hop along with me, great. If not, then that's fine. And that was
life-changing.
Yeah.
Did you stay in the school for the entire time?
I did. I fully stayed in school the entire time. And it was a horrible, like, I went to a small private school. So rumors would swirl and parents would talk. And and I think this is also something that now, and probably why I deal so well with comments, people get so flustered where they see like, oh, people are lying about me, or they think that I'm this horrible person. I need to apologize. I need to go on the apology tour. That's not me. And I think I realized in that moment, like, people are gonna lie about you. And the ones who really know who you are gonna stick with you. And the ones who don't, they're gonna go with everyone else, or they're gonna take the popular opinion, whatever makes sense. And so it was also a very early learning moment for me to recognize what real relationships look like, what real friendships look like, because I even had friends who all of a sudden they were no longer allowed to hang out with me because they thought, oh, Giselle's the party girl. She hangs out with all the boys. She's easy. She's a slut. Which was not at all the case. But I, that was something that I had to learn how to be okay with that.
Right. Know
in my heart what was true. That was also, I feel like, when I had always been raised around Christian values, but that was for me a moment, like a God moment for me. And I always say to anybody, listen, you don't have to believe what I believe. You can believe in God, you can believe in puppies. And, dog is God spelled backwards. I don't think that's a coincidence either. But that for me, though, was a moment where I realized I survived this. Why? Like, I went through this at a really, really young age. Like, why? And I could have been like, why me? But instead it felt like, I feel like I'm supposed to do something bigger. Right. I don't think this is the end. And there were just a handful of consecutive moments where I felt like, okay, I was disappointed. I was rejected. I got slapped in the face. I got brought to my knees. I'm still here, though. I want to explore what that looks like.
Right.
And it's, I feel like those moments of reinvention, of picking myself up, of believing that there's something bigger, of when things don't go my way, going, okay, so then what's the other way?
Right.
That has made everything made sense.
If you like this clip and want to see more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you want to watch the full episode, the link will be in the description. Or if you like audio, make sure you are subscribed to the Life with Mikey podcast on Spotify and Apple.